Like many people across the nation, summer is a time for relaxation and vacations. Individuals and groups have begun to appreciate the fact that volunteering and vacations can go together, enhancing everyone's travel experience. While we are producing new stories for our next season, we bring back some of our favorites from previous episodes of Travel Television.
My name's John Lewis, and I'm skipper of this small craft out here. And I'm basically down here today because they're having a War of 1812 reenactment.
Produced by one hand fifes and drums playing against two. The fifes and drums are really important. Fifes and drums, basically there was a signal.
I'm trying to think of a nice...
She had to make a choice.
I broke my gun. I'm really mad right now. I gave him permission to use my gun. I didn't give him permission to break it.
I got into reenactment after my wife passed away of cancer, and I'm looking for something to do, and saw in the local paper they were looking for volunteers here for the Asquith Sharpshooters, our reenactment group. We're here today. Being a volunteer, a reenactor, it gives you something to do. It keeps you out of the bars. It meeting new people, getting to travel. It's something to have fun with, doing something constructive with your life, and educating the youngins, or shorties as they may be.
I've never been one that got caught into the computer revolution. That, believe it or not, I like real things. You can watch something on television, you can play a video game, but if you're caught on a sloop like that, when the gunfire's firing and the rain's falling and there's a good wind coming up, it's a heck of a lot different than sitting on and playing a video game.
On 9/11/1814, Britain began its invasion of Baltimore with the largest invasion in U.S. history. It landed 5,000 battle-seasoned professional soldiers at North Point, planning to march the short distance to capture Baltimore. American militia forces, ordinary citizens rather than professional soldiers, blocked the British path into Baltimore. On September 12th, at the Battle of North Point, the militia inflicted serious casualties on the British forces, delaying their progress toward Baltimore. On the next day, September 13th, the British began their naval attack on Fort McHenry in Baltimore Harbor. Unable to defeat Fort McHenry and unable to enter Baltimore by land, the British subsequently retreated back down the Chesapeake Bay. Americans were overjoyed at their success defending Baltimore. Today we meet reenactors who gather each year to recreate the little-known Battle of North Point, Maryland. We will meet some for whom this is truly a family affair.
We're the Chris Jones family, and we're here volunteering.
Volunteering!
produced by
But I would say that if there's one benefit to this, it's you get to walk through history in ways that other people don't get to.
Attention!
It's just like fun because you get to like participate in history, and also like I get to hang out with my family because they've been doing this for a long time.
You meet a lot of people and you meet a lot of kids, and that's what the future's about. Seeing these kids come and their eyes go wide when you show them how to do something, how to play a game, what the dollies looked like back then, what the boys played with. That's it.
And if you don't get your spouse involved one way or the other, you wind up getting divorced. It's as simple as that.
And sometimes you meet your spouse doing things like this. Spike and I met doing this. His group came down from Canada and I met him and we got married. In fact, today is our 21st wedding anniversary.
They got married here.
And we got married here at the park.
100 yards up the road. Most of the guys in the green uniforms here are members of a scout troop. So this is a year-round activity for the scout troop.
And this is what we growed into, what you're looking at here. The tents, the uniforms, the rifles, and everything. We've been doing reenacting now, seriously reenacting, for over 25 years. We've been to New Orleans, we've been to Fort Erie, Fort Niagara, Fort York up in Toronto, Chippewa, Lundy's Lane, Bladensburg, just about every place there was a battle during the War of 1812, we've been there.
It's something you can do as a family. It's historical, so you can learn something. And honestly, every trip you take out doing a reenactment, you learn something new. Not dealing with a cell phone at a reenactment or having cars to go back and forth. It makes you understand a little bit more about where everyone came from and how things are now. You meet people, you talk to them, you educate them sometimes you just make them smile. It becomes a hobby, and then from a hobby it becomes something that's just fun to do. So I recommend it.
The Battle of North Point stymied British plans for a land invasion in the War of 1812. This was followed by a 24-hour naval assault on Fort McHenry. The flag was raised after that battle, and Francis Scott Key was inspired to write the Star-Spangled Banner. On this bicentennial anniversary of these momentous events, volunteers created a replica by hand, just as the original was made.
People really see that this project is something that is a legacy, that is going to be around, that to have participated in it is something really powerful. And you really get that from people all over the world. Volunteers were absolutely essential to this project. The first thing we had to do was to cut the fabric, which was absolutely terrifying to me. So I had to assign that to a couple of our volunteers who are, very good at doing this, because this entire project is so big, and you just, it can be very daunting at times. Our volunteers are fabulous women, and they are real artists when it comes to stitching and sewing. And they're willing to do just about anything. So they're wonderfully enthusiastic in fundraising. They're wonderfully enthusiastic in sewing, and it's probably been the highlight of the project for me to actually be able to work with all of the people, all these volunteers that are coming in. So we've had people come in from almost every state in the Union, including Alaska and Hawaii.
We had several people from around the world. We did have a family from Hong Kong, and I had the privilege of sitting down and helping them put their stitches in. It was they were excited about it, and I was just as excited to have them here.
I'm meeting a lot of wonderful people, hearing a lot of wonderful stories. I was actually here last Sunday for the Public Sewing Day, saw people from all over the world, all over the country that came in to just put a stitch in the flag. And it's an exciting project. I'm so glad that I became a part of it.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, we have some of the best quilters probably in the country that are in this room, some of the best sewers. And you couldn't pay to go to conferences and meet these people and have the wonderful experiences we've had.
And I thought, wow, what a great chance to be part of history. And so I've been coming up, I think this is the 6th time I've been here. I've been coming up with a couple of friends and stitching, working on the flag kits, doing just about anything that needed to be done.
This has been an outstanding experience. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to recreate this flag. I'm honored to have been able to do it, and I get goosebumps when I talk about it.
Faith Works is here on MLK Day because today is about giving back and really being a part of the community in a peaceful and encouraging way, and that's what MLK Day is really about.
MLK Day, I think it's just a tradition. Obviously, he's a fantastic leader. He impacted all of us in many different ways. Obviously, those of us who are social workers follow obviously in his goals of wanting to serve everybody, fairness for everybody. So being here today is extremely important in following that message.
An awful lot to be done for the future. I anticipate that we will continue to improve and to get better, but you had to have someone to give us that sort of inspiration, the start, the motivation, and Dr. King, life and legacy did that.
Living a life of action and not just words, and he was a huge inspiration for that, and everybody here is definitely a huge inspiration.
Oh, it's got me to where I am today, I'm not the best person, but just living the dream, doing the things that he has instilled in me is making me a better person.
To me, it means speaking up, fighting the good fight, not letting discrimination go by unchallenged, and every day, any one of us can make a difference and make sure that we're part of the battle for equality so that we all have an opportunity to succeed in this county and across our country today.
Well, this is a Community Volunteer Day in celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. This is one of 3 such events that are being conducted today in Montgomery County. One in Shady Grove at the University of Maryland, Shady Grove, one here in Rockville at the Conference Center, and also at the Civic Center in Silver Springs. So I've had an opportunity to visit all 3 sites today, an opportunity to see thousands of volunteers out today. It has been really a wonderful, wonderful display of community spirit and volunteerism here in Montgomery County.
People at the Conference Center, as well as at the other 2 sites in Silver Spring and at the universities at Shady Grove, loved the opportunity to bring their families and give back, whether it was writing letters to soldiers or making cards for injured veterans, making boxes for the homeless, or baking muffins for the hungry. People were involved in an opportunity to give back to those less fortunate. And on a day like this, we should be thinking of it not as a day off, but as a day on. And that's what Montgomery County is just great at.
This was fantastic. As far as the dream, with this performance in here today, the dream is still alive. It truly is. The young talent, just incredible.
I am here representing the International Rescue Committee at the MLK Day of Service for Montgomery County. And we were really excited about this opportunity, both because there are volunteer service projects, as well as the opportunity to table for the volunteer opportunities at our organization. So it's a great way of getting involved with the community and involving the community at the same time.
Well, following obviously in the theme of Martin Luther King is giving back to community and service. Foster parenting and adoptive parenting is one of the highest levels of service that you can offer. So we are here today to educate people about our foster and adoptive parent program. We also have people here from our informal kinship navigator program, where we work with families who are kids who are trying to take care of kids to avoid them coming into the foster care program.
Interfaith Works is an organization that runs homeless shelters and helps needy families, tides them over in times of trouble. And we're always looking for help doing that. People making meals. We touch the lives of 35,000 Montgomery County residents every year in various ways, so we need plenty of help.
Sometimes people grumble when they're dragged to a project at first, and they're dragged by their parents or by some friend or work colleague. But once they're there, they get engaged. They feel the teamwork and see the difference that their work is going to make. Maybe an hour or two of your time isn't going to change the world, but we've had 25,000 residents teaming up to work on projects to help the 1 million people who live in this county. That makes a big difference.
A day of service brings everyone closer to Dr. King's vision of a beloved community. Putting into practice the teachings of Dr. King, Travel Television visited a church whose volunteers worked on over a dozen projects.
I love the quote by Dr. King. He said, "Anyone can be great because anyone can serve." We are Seneca Creek Community Church. We are honoring the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King with a day of service. We've got about 15 projects going on throughout the building. We have a team of people that are making banners that just say thank you to the awesome job that our fire and our police do every day. We have a group of people that are making toys for the Humane Society. We have a team that is putting together move-in kits for men who are ready to transition into independent living. We also have a team of people that are making placemats for the Children's Inn, families that are staying at the Children's Inn while their children are getting treated. When they sit down for a meal, they're going to have a placemat with some encouraging words, just some smiles, just to help them realize that there are people thinking about them and care about them. Some of the ladies in our congregation that knit are figuring out a way that they can use that hobby and that skill in order to serve other people. And then we've got a blood drive going on.
We had about, I want to say 40 to 45 people registered to donate, but we've already had 15 walk-ins. Each unit of blood is going to save up to 3 lives, so it's just an exponential result. When I was 17, I received 6 units of blood in 3 days. And so a blood donation literally saved my life.
It is better to give than receive. Getting outside of our own problems and our own worries to give to someone else, ultimately you end up feeling better. We are glad to be able to make our neighborhood a better place.
A day on, not a day off. That is the theme of the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. Around the United States, community projects support a variety of nonprofit organizations during MLK Jr. Day and throughout January. In Montgomery County, the Volunteer Center brings together several thousand volunteers with nonprofit groups to create projects for homeless, veterans, children, and to support other nonprofit groups in the community. Travel Television spoke with the county executive Ike Leggett and U.S. Congressman John Delaney.
Well, one of the things that Dr. King did in his life was to make certain that we come together as a community. One of the best ways you can do that is by service.
Events like this are a remarkable reminder to Dr. King's legacy, and I think in many ways it connects us to a larger purpose.
Martin Luther King was about service on. And so even though it's a holiday, we call it not a day off, but a day on.
I think people should get involved in community service in whatever way makes them most comfortable. The earlier you start community service, the more likely you are to do it across your life.
Here in Montgomery County, we could not achieve the level of success for our community without service. You could never do enough to satisfy the huge demand that's out there.
People are helping our servicemen and women and doing something to show our thanks.
Feeding those who need food, the homeless shelters. Young people are contacting young people all the way in Uganda. So not only are we helping people here, but we're helping people literally around the world.
Dr. King's message and why it resonates so powerfully even today is because it was about love. and loving our fellow human beings and caring for them and having a sense of stewardship for them.
And you can really reflect the spirit of Dr. King by getting out, getting engaged, whatever community that you're in, and serving others.
One of the projects that the county has been supporting is the Button Farm rebuild. Can you speak to that?
It's a terrific project, and it is largely driven by volunteers. I mean, Tony, one weekend after another, there's whole bunches of folks like the students that I work with. They go out there, and while of course some of the fine work of restoring an old house is going to be done by professionals, but the bulk of the work done in this beautiful project is done by volunteers.
I'm Aaliyah. I'm here because I think that community service is a really great thing to do. I'm Taylor Geyer, and I'm here to help make the farm a better place.
Today I'm here with Anthony Cohen from the Button Farm Living Foundation. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So tell us a little bit about your role and about Button Farm.
Yes, I'm president of the Button Farm Living History Center, which is in Germantown, Maryland. We're a hands-on history center, kind of in the style of colonial Williamsburg, but our period of history is 1850s plantation life in Maryland. So we operate a living, working, everyday run-of-the-mill farm that has a historical bent.
When people come to visit your farm, do they just visit? Do you put them to work? Define hands-on.
Yes, that's a great question. So we do a number of different programs. We do educational programs, and so when school groups come out during the week, the bus pulls up, the kids get out, we put hose in their hands, and we send them in the fields working.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the history of the farm. What are some important historical events that happen there?
Button Farm sits inside of Seneca Creek State Park, which is a 6,000-acre park. The farm itself has its origins in the 1700s and was occupied by multiple generations through the 1980s.
Oh, wow. Yes. So when you talk about the history of the farm, and you say that you're using the 1850s right now as the time frame where you're running the farm out of. So what are some events that happened during that time frame, and what made you choose that time frame right now?
That's a great question. 1850s is our time frame because that's a period of history that encompasses American slavery, the Underground Railroad, and also moves close to the time of the Civil War and emancipation. So it's a time period for our state, our county, and the nation in general where we have a lot of information through historical documents, firsthand accounts that we're able to use to kind of bring that history alive. Our chief goal is to get the Underground Railroad immersion experience up and running. We've been very fortunate because once we settled on Button Farm, it was a very short time before the community discovered we were there. And we, I guess, originally thought, you know, we'd raise the money, we'd fix up the farm, and then open the doors to the public. But the public wasn't having that. They wanted to be part of the expansion and the development and the growth of the farm. So we really brought in the public early on to help us clear the site. The public, through other nonprofits, through civic groups and corporations, helped us raise the money to do the restoration of the farm. And we've actually started not only our programs, but the regular day-to-day maintenance of the farm through volunteers, which has turned out to be our greatest resource.
So tell me a little bit about the dedication of the farm.
Yes, last year we did the groundbreaking of the restoration for the farm. We have a number of historic buildings that have begun to go under restoration.
And I understand that at Make a Difference Day, you had a large group of volunteers that came out. Tell me a little bit about what they did and what are some of the events that they attended during that day.
Yeah, absolutely. They came out and harvesting produce that went to our food shelters and whatnot, to beautifying the farm, working with animals, everything from painting projects to construction, just a whole variety. We had a little bit of everything for everyone. So
that sounds like a great opportunity.
It is, and it's a way for people not only to connect with the farm, but to the land and the community at large. It's pretty great.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is Carrie Keenan with Anthony Cohen with Button Farm. Thank you for watching Travel Television. We are volunteers creating media about volunteer organizations, telling their stories and encouraging volunteerism. Then follow Stories on Travel Television, where Traveling for Purpose features people who want to give back to their community.